You guys had so many questions this week for the mailbag, and because we just love you so much, we're giving you a bonus episode this week of more questions we didn't get to on Friday's mailbag show. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our bonus episode. Let's talk about John Fisher. I'm kidding. Instead,
Jeff's already been canceled in between the bonus episode and the regular episode.
You get episode 1301 is my last one. I can't contain anger. Sorry. It's by the time we get to the end of the week, I've had to deal with so many random things that I'm just kind of Dunzo Capunzo. That is not my name, though. My name is Jeff Ellis. I've been here since the start of the Locked On MLB network. Before that, I was a nationally recognized draft and prospect analyst at Scouting 24/7. And before that, I didn't look it up. So we'll say, hey, I'll do this for once. Was your favorite blogger at every Cleveland sports blog that has or will exist.
You were always my favorite blogger, Jeff. We didn't even, we kind of.
51 was a Tommy home run.
Oh, okay. Which one was that? What year was that from?
Now I got to pull up National Pastime because I closed out. You do your introduction, and then I'll tell people what it's from.
You love the closed tabs. Jeff is the king of.
I don't like
Jeff
tabs.
Jeff is the king of running people over with buses and closing tabs.
2002 established a new record by hitting his 51st home run, broke Bell's record, which was 50 and 95.
Okay, fair enough. Still holds the record. I don't think anyone will break that. I'm Justin Latta. I've been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007. Where I've written at places you probably did hear of or maybe didn't hear of, and I was definitely not your favorite anything at any of those sites, but some of them were Guardians Baseball Insider. Hey, Burning River Baseball was one of those. I had a fun time at Burning River Baseball for a little bit, and right now the News Herald and the Morning Journal. But enough of that. We want to talk questions from the mailbag this week we didn't get to, although we got one item we really just failed to get to during the week that we should have.
Yeah, we should probably address the fact that Class A set a new single season save record, right? Like that was a pretty big moment, especially when you look at the grand scheme where that is a dude who last year he set the all-time record for most blown saves in Cleveland baseball history. And then the next year sets the single season save record. What a dichotomy.
When I said in the first show during one of my reads about one of our sponsors that I was going to use their services to go see Jose Ramirez in the Hall of Fame one day. And I think I'll also be there when Class A does it because the track he's on, I don't see how he won't be. Not just the best Cleveland closer of all time, but he's on track to be a Hall of Fame closer. I do enjoy, too, that he did it in Bob Wickman fashion, too. Isn't that great? Like, not only did he set the Guardians save record for all time now, or single season, I should say, he did it in Bob Wickman fashion where he loaded the bases first just to make it fun for everybody. Just, to be like, you know what? I can do this the easy way or the hard way. Let's just do it the hard way because, let's be honest, he may not pitch, though, over the weekend. So go out on a fun note. I don't know. It's unbelievable watching him. Like, I don't even have words. I can't believe there are people. I'm not really a big fan of relievers winning the Cy Young Award, but I think they deserve votes. And I can't believe anybody who would leave him off. Like, even if he's like Tariq Skubal should win the AL Cy Young. Corbin Burns, maybe number 2. I don't see how there's a case for anybody but Class A at number 3. I got to be honest.
Yeah, unless you're Keith Law, who made a top 5 and didn't even mention him. But Keith has always been kind of, he's always viewed as, hey, like a starter is more valuable than a reliever. So I don't think that's just his. At least I can understand the logic. They're like, no reliever would ever make his top 5. That's just the truth of it. But
and that's true. That's true. It's just, I think it's not always. That's a disingenuous take. The genuine takes were the questions you guys had this week that we didn't get to. So we've got a couple of other ones we didn't get to in the regular show. So we are happy to answer them now as we're doing stuff, producing the Friday show. This will come out later. Let's go to Chris. What position players do you guys think the Guardians should have on their bench for the playoffs? And he had to throw in DeLauder. I imagine DeLauder is not a consideration, but he should be. Should he be? No,
he shouldn't be.
No, he's not.
He's no, he should
not. Chase DeLauder is playing in the Arizona Fall League because he missed a crap ton of time again. and guys don't really repeat the fall league very often. So let's just no,
never. It's not even not often. It never, almost never. It's basically never happens. But again, he's played less than 40% of his games since his freshman year in college. He should not be. He's not ready. Does everyone also forget that like he played less than 40 games this year, and half those games he looked lost in AA. Like he was struggling before his first injury. It was not a good start to the year for him.
Yeah, he came off the injured list and all of a sudden started hitting better, which wild, but whatever. Look, I think the talent is undeniable for DeLauder, but
yes,
it's the injury question mark for me right now. As far as
he's my number one off-season trade asset for that reason. I just throw that up.
We'll take mine. Well, yeah. The other part of this question, though, was what position players would you guys have on the bench for the postseason for the Guardians? I think I'm taking Straw. I just think, again, we talked about Noel on the regular episode about someone asked the question about should Noel be on it despite his slump, and we said yes. Spoiler alert, but go listen to the reasoning. I think Straw should be on there as a defensive replacement / pinch runner. And a hard part of this, too, is that David Fry no longer has any versatility, so that makes it difficult. Like, he can no longer play multiple positions, which really hurts you. So maybe that limits things a little bit. I would keep, obviously, Fry, Noel, if Fry's not starting. Against the right-hander, your bench should be Hedges, Fry, Noel, Straw, Martinez. And you can keep an extra player because you're going to cut one guy. I'd imagine that no more than 12 are going to be on the pitching staff. I could even see a scenario where it's just 11. So, yeah, I would probably go Hedgie, Fry, Noel, Martinez, Straw as the 5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issues.
You could have a 6. It looks like you could have a 6.
It's like, so, I think, Hedgie, Fry, Martinez. I probably go Schneemann, Noel, and Straw would probably be my grouping if I'm going 6. And honestly, if I'm gonna go 5, then it's just the current bench that there is right now. But I think you can get 6 and you can add Straw, and that would be my 6.
Yeah, I think again, I go listen to our Friday episode. We talked about why we would have Noel on and why Straw also makes sense in the same vein. Let's go to Aaron Salzbrenner. 2 years into Chris Flake as the hitting coach, what grade would you give him? There's another question on top of that, which I love that question. That's why we're talking about it. But the first question is the Chris Faleka question. Let's answer that. 2 years in, what grade would you give Chris Faleka as the Guardians hitting coach the last 2 seasons?
Every coach gets paid to do their job, Justin. Everyone gets paid.
You're never going to get over that.
No, he's a C for me. And there does seem to be some guys who have had some positive growth. The organization clearly likes him. They at least gave him an interview for manager. But at the same time, like, the guys who have not had success, the guys who, talking to Atlanta fans, it's like the big talk is like, I remember my manager candidate was the hitting coach there, whose brother played for the Guardians, and apparently it was a simple fix for Ramon Laureano, and it's really he's made him Atlanta's best outfielder. There's just little things where I can't give him a B. Like there's enough that it's not an F or a D, so I just get him the passing C because the good and the bad is very present in there.
That's fair. I have a hard time understanding how much credit to give these guys because it depends on who you're working with, right? Like we always talk about this. Like I think coaches and managers get too much credit and too much blame at the same time. Like I never know how to assign it. So I think to make it easy, I think you're right. It's like a C+ because last year was horrendous, right? There was no question that last year was horrendous. The Twins just, I think, walked off the Marlin. No, the bases are loaded. This is going to air later, and this is a Thursday night, whatever. But like you saw Quan take a step forward this year. I know he fell apart later and got hurt, all that stuff. But nobody else on this roster this year took an offensive step forward. Like David Fry did for a little bit, and I have a hard time knowing how much his injury impacted that. Is that really Chris Faleka's fault that Quan and Fry slumped in the second half? Because we don't know How long was Kwan's back hurting? And how long is David Fry? What injuries does he have? You know what I mean? Like, Chris Valleca is the cook, but he's not necessarily buying the groceries. So, like, it's hard for me to sit there and say, like, well, it's his fault they're not hitting better, because what if you're just giving him, you know, I don't know, what's tofu, and you're asking him to make filet mignon? Like, you can't get a great steak out of tofu, right? So is that really his fault? I don't know. There's people that tell us that he's a future manager, that the hitters love him. So I don't know. I think it's just to cop out. I think I'm with you. It's a C+, because, like, there have been good things this year, but there have been bad things too. And I don't know how much blame or credit to assign to him. So he's fine. Could they do better? Probably. Will they do better? I don't know. It's, you know, like you said, the Ramon Laureano thing is just crazy weird out of that. All right. We got a lot more questions on the bonus episode. We will definitely get to all those as we continue on a bonus show here of Locked On Guardians. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth account for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available only for $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Listen to Locked On MLB every day, covering your team, all the biggest headlines, all the great stories. With our pal Sully over at Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your questions, once again, today on a bonus episode. Now, did the Twins win this game? Nope, they did not. It's out at home. Let's go to B. Sudi. This is an interesting one. Oh, you know, we didn't go to the second part of the question of Aaron real quick. Let's do that one. If you were going to give another matchup in Ohio Cup, who is it with and what is it called?
So another thing that I'm going to ignore and not pay any attention to. And
Jeff hates fun. We know. Jeff hates John Fisher, and he hates fun.
Yeah, I want to make it against Oakland and call it the John Fisher Sucks Cup. And
whoever loses has to
have,
cup?
Get stuck with the John Fisher Sucks Cup. So there we go.
Fine. I guess we'll allow. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting question once realignment happens, when Oakland or the Athletics find a permanent home, and you get, like, you know, the Nashville and the Portland or whatever expansion teams come into play. That'll be an interesting one to revisit. I mean, the Pirates are a natural one. Yeah, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. That's one. Guardians and Detroit could be an interesting one. You know, Ohio versus Michigan. I'd be into that. But I'd be interested to see what happens once realignment.
The Twins for the Crybaby Cup.
Well, the Guardians aren't crybabies, so
I know. I'm just making fun of people, but
I would say Tigers and Guardians. You got the Ohio Michigan split there.
It just
you know, they've already got a rivalry with Kentucky, so why not add Michigan? Right?
I don't know. It just doesn't feel like there's. That's kind of the problem with Cleveland, I would say, in general, when it comes to, like, baseball rivalries are more about, like, who's good at the time. Like, unless it's an ingrained one, that it's more about, like, 10 years ago, I would have probably said, yeah, Tigers. That's their biggest rival. Now it feels like it's the Twins. There's points where maybe, it's like they shift so much.
That's why maybe it should be the Pirates. But then again, they could end up with a division of the Pirates.
Yeah, they don't play them enough.
Who knows?
My
All right, now we get to B. Sudi. So he wants to know what is holding Johnathan Rodriguez from not getting an opportunity that Noel has. So Manzardo struggled at first. And he says J-Rod's first stint is holding him down, but Manzardo's didn't. This to me is about options. Number one, if Johnathan Rodriguez was out of options, I think it might be a different story. But the one thing Noel does when he's not chasing pitches that hit the plate or are in the left-handed batter's box is he hits the ball in the air. Like, when he gets a strike, he hits the ball in the air and he hits it very far. Johnathan Rodriguez, when he gets a strike, he hits the ball very hard and he hits it right into the ground. Like that's the problem. If you go look up Johnathan Rodriguez, I think if you filter all the data down to like a minimum of like 5 plate appearances this year for anybody who played for the Guardians, he has the highest hard hit rate on the team, yet he does not have a single barrel at the major league level. This is because all of his hard hits are ground balls. So that's part of it, I think. He's no worse of an outfielder than Noel. So I don't know about that part. I think to me it's all about options, and it's because Rodriguez just doesn't hit enough fly balls. And I know it works for him in Columbus. People are saying, well, what about, the 29 home runs he had at Columbus? If Johnathan Noel was in Columbus, he'd probably have 40 home runs. So AAA is AAA. I hate to say it.
He's just not good. He's fine. He is what he is, but the more time you spend kind of watching guys and seeing stuff, it's like that swing is a non-successful swing. It's almost a non-competitive swing. It's what works as a quad A guy, but doesn't really work as a higher level guy. And it's not about why does Manzardo get the opportunity? It's a better swing, and that's what we're seeing now. It's why does a Bobby Bradley have all that success in the minors? It doesn't translate. Some swings are not geared. They're geared to be successful in the minors, but it's not going to necessarily be the pathway. And I see a quad A guy when I watch him. He's not even a guy I'm really considering for my top 30 for next year. I wouldn't be shocked if at some point during this offseason, he's a guy who's let go to clear a 40-man spot. I don't see a lot of pathways for use because it's just my basic rule. Like Noel is being successful now. We'll see if it sticks, but you have to have 2 traits. And if you don't have 2 traits, it's just not going to work out for you long term. And that's always been my concern with Noel. It's power, and there's not really a secondary trait. He's walking more, so maybe that could be it. But with Rodriguez, it's power, and there is no secondary trait.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, defensively, Rodriguez.
I guess an arm.
He has a great arm, but you know what? Noel's arm is not a problem either. So it's the same. It's the same thing over and over again. So yeah, Rodriguez. I don't know. Now we're going to get into some off-season questions. So I wanted to avoid some of these, but it's a bonus show. We can address some of them, I guess. The first one was a recent one. Opening day rotation in 2025. So Bibee, obviously your opening day starter for next year. He's earned that assignment. Unless Shane Bieber resigns, but even then he won't be healthy. So I think it's Tanner no matter what. I think they'll give Tristan another go next year.
Yep.
Gavin Williams will be here. I think they'll give Logan Allen another go. So, that's 4 spots right there. The 5th spot, I don't know, Ben Lively.
Yeah, it's going to be Garrett Cole, Blake Snell, Corbin Burns, Max Fried, and Tanner Bibee, right?
I like it. Yeah, I'm sold. Okay.
No, it's going to be.
Fisher's going to buy the Guardians. Is that what you're saying?
So he can not pay anyone because they're even worse. Another way that he was awful. But enough of that. I think it's Tanner, Gavin are pretty easy. Tristan's going to get an opportunity. Ben Lively has earned his spot. And the 5th spot could just be a battle in camp. I'll go with Cantillo for now because listen, I was a huge Logan Allen mark. It's been really bad. This season has been very shades of Jeremy Sowers, where that great rookie year, and then it was just not enough as a lefty to be able to consistently get guys out after that. So Cantillo's stuff is better. The command is not better, but for now I'm going to go with that as my 5.
Yeah, the stuff is definitely better. You're right. I don't know, the Shane Bieber thing. Odds of Bieber getting a prove-it deal with the Guardians this offseason state, the state of the pitching.
They've never done one of these since Grady Sizemore.
Yeah, everything else has been a minor league deal, right? So I guess it doesn't count. Yeah, Grady Sizemore was the only prove-it deal really they ever gave out. I'm going to be honest. I think there's a chance, but, well, actually, no. I'm going to say because they are going to have other things to do this offseason, I don't think there's going to be money to spend because of the TV situation, whatever. And I know people are going to say, well, they've got better attendance this year.
Yeah, but
I guess we'll see.
TV is falling apart. And
that's
TV has mattered more than it. And that's the thing. Like we have to be very TV money mattered more than attendance for the last 10 decade at least. Like that's where the money was. And now that money's not there. That's huge. And like, let's also be honest. Like Shane Bieber is great for 2 starts. Shane Bieber, 3 out of the last 4 years, has missed half the year, and it was 2 starts. That is a small sample size. He could have easily turned into the guy who was largely ineffective the year before. You probably wouldn't have. But he's in a weird spot. I mean, I think there's probably like a 10 to 15% chance, but it's only going to be if there is not a large market because of the injuries, because of the recent ineffectiveness. Like, do you give more weight to 2 starts, or do you give more weight to, the half a season before that he wasn't good? There's a lot of negatives on Bieber, and I don't think anyone's going to offer him. He's essentially going to have to take a prove-it deal from somebody. So, but I still think it's only about 10% because Cleveland also has young arms coming up. They have a lot of players in place. I don't think they can allocate the little money they have to a prove-it player.
Yeah, I agree. I do think there'll be greener pastures for him out there in terms of the prove-it deal too. So, but for what you said about having other needs and the fact that he's going to be enticed with more money somewhere else, I think, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a 10% chance. And the only reason he comes back is if the market just isn't there. And I think the market will be there because, I mean, I know he's not Corbin Burns or he's not, I don't know. He's Brandon Woodruff got one. I would put Shane Bieber in the same.
No, Woodruff's been better than him recently.
Okay.
And didn't have the health issues. I mean, that's like no one has had his health issues. Where 3 out of 4 years he has missed more than half the season.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Right. All right. So I think something similar, if not a little bit less. So, yeah. All right. We are going to talk about the future core of the team to wrap up today as a bonus episode. We got some other off-season stuff we can talk about in here too to wrap up this week's bonus episode. Thank you for all your questions. Stick around. We got more to answer.
But first, let's talk about the good people over at PrizePicks. Episode of Locked On Guardians is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. So I mentioned this before. For me, like one of those baseball dreams is to go to Rogers Center and get one of the baseball field viewing. It'd be awesome to get to go to a Guardians game and watch from that location. That is what I'd love to go to Booking.com and see if I could do. That's one of those things I've always wanted to experience. I remember being a little kid and hearing how Robbie Alomar lived in the Rogers Center while he was playing there. I don't know why. It's just always stuck with me. It's one of those things. One of the other things I always wanted to do was, go eat at the restaurant that is now gone as part of, I almost said Jacobs Field. But you want to have those experiences while you still can, and use Booking.com for those chances and those opportunities. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
Enjoy Guardians postseason action on SiriusXM. Just search Guardians to hear all the broadcasts, including I think postseason as well. So good app to have. Love our friends over at the SiriusXM app. This is a question we got a while ago. We haven't really gotten to it. I like this one to wrap up the mailbag or the bonus mailbag. This is from Jonk Bonks. Hope we see some postseason Jonk Bonks. What do you guys think the core of the lineup is the next year or two? I think the core of the lineup next year or two is obviously Juan Soto, Chase DeLauder, Travis Bazzana, John Kenzie Noel, Miles Straw, Johnathan Rodriguez. Yeah, that's my core. What do you think? Sounds good, right? Jose Ramirez.
You kidding? Chase DeLauder's not going to be healthy enough to be part of a core. Who are you going to have the other half of the year? Or is Juan Soto only playing half a year, and that's how they can afford him? They're gonna...
I was going to say Juan Soto can be part of the core because that's how they can afford him, is they only pay him for half the season. Yeah. The next year or two.
Timeshare. We're getting in a Juan Soto timeshare with another organization.
Yeah. I think it's easy. I mean, obviously, Jose is still going to be part of this core. Quan and Manzardo should be part of it for the next year or two. I mean, Bo Naylor, I don't think is going anywhere. I know he hasn't hit well this year. I think he's part of it.
Gimme.
He's under control. So, like, you're not getting out from that contract, and he's been fine. Not great, but fine. The bullpen, you can sit here and say the bullpen is locked up for a while, and it is, but like you never know. Like things happen with bullpens and trades and all that kind of stuff, so you never know. Obviously, I think we agree Travis Bazzano will be part of that core. Is there a guy offensively that we haven't talked about you think can make it? I mean, we talked about Bazzana. I mean, DeLauder, we know the health issues, the guys that are already here. Is anybody, kind of off the radar that could emerge as a core offensive piece for you in the next 2 years?
I guess based on where they drafted him and how they believe in him, and after the struggles that Naylor's had this year, is there a world where that's Jacob Cozart? If you want to talk about someone who could be like down the board, you spent a lot of money. You went overslot in the second round to get him. So it was a little bit of a surprise that they had to go overslot to get him there. We know they like him. Like maybe he's that guy if things can't turn around for Bo. Maybe that's the under the radar piece. Or maybe it's, a guy who isn't even here yet. Like if they have a hard decision about Josh Naylor this offseason. There's a lot of contributing factors, and maybe they flip him and it's one of those assets they get the other way, or maybe it's figuring out a different kind of deal where they consolidate some pieces, which we've all been thinking they need to consolidate pieces for like a decade now, and it hasn't happened. So there's that side of it as well. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see who else could be those players. I was going to pull up my own, because I don't have it memorized, my top 30 and see like who was further down the list. But that's Cozart just kind of stands out as a guy who's not a top 10 guy, who, a high pick in a really good, very high pick for that team.
It's going to be hard for Cozart to me because offensively, I don't know that he's going to do enough. I mean,
if you draft him in the second round, then you think he's going to do enough. You don't take a
no.
backup.
I'm saying I think it's going to be hard for him to move through the system in 2 years from what I saw offensively in 2024. And I'm not going to judge him based on that because he played a full college season and went straight to high A, which is very difficult. So I'm not going to judge him based on that.
I guess it's him or Engel. I guess would be.
Yeah, Engel's an interesting one for sure. The thing I think about Bo Naylor, though, is he has improved so much defensively. And they really like how he works with the pitching staff. He went out of his way to learn Spanish. So I just feel like they're not going to give up on Bo. This is an organization that really just doesn't care about offensive production from their catchers. Like, as long as you are giving them what you need on defense, and for the most part he has, I think there's still room to grow defensively for him. But I have a hard time seeing them really giving up on him in the next couple of years. That doesn't make any sense to me. The other guy I'm really interested in besides Bazzana is CJ Kafis and what he did this year. He feels kind of blocked by Manzardo and Naylor. But if you do decide to move on from Josh Naylor, how does CJ Kafis factor in? Because he's a guy who can play some outfield and he can also play first. And he did have an offensive surge this season that, we weren't maybe expecting. So I figure out he fits into the order there, and then Angel Henao too. It's gonna be hard for him because you got Bazzana and Jimenez, and that would take moving Bazzana to the outfield and then keeping Henao on the infield. But I'm really curious to see what he does moving through the system because he is our number 2, maybe our number 1 prospect right now. Bazzana 1 and Henao 2 probably, and. Ralphie seems blocked, but Ralphie can also play the outfield. And the thing about that is, I didn't think about this until yesterday. I was on Guardians of the Future with Logan and Tyler from the Captains. We were talking about Ralphie Velasquez, and we were talking about, forget that he was 19 years old this year. He crushed the ball in low A. I know low A is a very hard environment to judge prospects in. But he crushed the ball in his first pro season. He was in high school a year ago at this time. Or I'm sorry, he was in the system at this point. But, coming into the season, he was a senior in high school a year ago when you think about where he was in April. He made the Futures game. He was thought to have the best batting practice performance of all of the prospects in the Futures game this year by most. So even though he struggled at high A, like I'm going to take the fact that he was a teenager into consideration. So I think he could move too. Pitching wise, I think it's up in the air more pitching wise, right? Like if you're talking about the core for pitching, like there's Tanner. I don't know how confident do we feel in Gavin Williams? Like he had an elbow issue this year. He's been very inconsistent. Joey Cantillo has had a couple of good starts, but we know he's had health and command issues. You have no idea what you're going to get from Logan Allen and Tristan McKenzie going forward. How confidently do we project Austin Peterson or Parker Messick to be key cogs in the rotation in the next 2 years? Like, we like those guys. We especially like Peterson. Messick had a great year too. But, like, how confidently can you project them to turn into rotation stalwarts over the next 2 years behind Tanner when you've got 4 guys I just said that, because at some point they're trading Gavin, right? Like, it's just a matter of when.
He has to be better to make him tradable. Otherwise,
I know, but like he's not going to be here forever regardless. So
I mean,
like,
he'll be here if he pitches like how he pitched this year, he'll be here till he's a free agent. There's just not enough value in that. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's the thing. It's like for him to be the guy they're going to look to trade, he's got to be better than he's been. Otherwise, he's just, heck, they might even be able to work out a deal because he's got to be the guy that they thought he could be. If he's just this, then this is just like, it's fine. But he pitched this year like a 5, an inconsistent back end starter who would flash more, but couldn't do it consistently. It's like the difference between when I was a teenager, like Bartolo Colon and Jared Wright, like both had stuff. Colon had consistency, Wright had none. And then look at those careers. You know, it's like, I'm not thinking Jared Wright had a lot of other issues, but that consistency is huge. And until he shows that consistency, he's not going to be a big money guy.
Yeah, agreed. So, and that just says like, how confident can you be in the core? Like your core, your pitching staff is Tanner Bybee, and I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of other answers to tell you. And in 2025 and 2026, they still have a lot to see from guys to prove it. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. You want to do one more, or do you want to wrap this thing up? Because we got one more, I think, that we could talk about.
Okay. Might as well do it then, right?
All right. We got one more. This is from user A Lot of Letters. This was a YouTube question from a while ago, and I don't know the letters here. But he mentioned the question was, I haven't seen the Guardians ever go outside of the organization via trade for an MLB starting pitcher in the past. Any chance they move one of the hitting prospects for a controllable starter? I mean, Chase DeLauder is your number one trade bait this winter, you said.
Yeah, but like, it's a degree of facetiousness at the same time, like because like he was a guy he was talked about after the Cape Cod as a potential 1-1 pick, and he fell to where he fell and took an underslot deal where he fell because teams were scared to death of his health. And he's done nothing but proven. Like he was off at least one team I knew about's board because they thought he wouldn't stay healthy. And that team is certainly not going to have any interest in trading with him because he's been even unhealthier since he's been drafted. So like I say that, but like he's also in some respects, like you got to find the right team because for some teams he's going to be a bad trade asset. So I also think unless you're doing something like Josh Naylor to Seattle to get like Brian Wu, but I don't even think you could get Brian Wu, honestly. Like Wu's savant page is ridiculous. I don't think there's a great deal there. And the thing is, like, he's a first baseman with health issues, not the ideal build, who's a rental, who has a sub 800 OPS. Like, it's still top 6 for the position, but like he is not that necessarily difference maker. Guys, teams are like, if they're going to pay for a lot, they need more. And I honestly think Naylor is here in a year. I think, he walks and they maybe offer him arbitration. I think the value of what you get for a player with his profile is not very high. So I don't see a pathway prospect wise. I think we're probably, hoping a Peterson or Messick breaks out for them in a year more than trading for someone, because pitching is so expensive that I don't know if they have the pieces to go get a starter. Like it's so expensive. You need to have for sure pieces. Like teams want some big seal, or they want big ceiling, and let's be honest, they don't have a lot of big ceiling as well. I can't remember, someone on Twitter is like, hey, should Janelle be the number one trade piece this offseason because his value is never going to be higher? Or maybe that was you.
That is true.
And it's like, I can't remember if it was online or if that was maybe from you, but there's a point to that. Like, he might be the guy. I think he has a higher trade value than DeLauder, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's all dependent on health, obviously. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think the question too is like, who's going to be on the market? Like, who's trading starting pitching this offseason? Because ideally, nobody's trading starting pitching because it's the hardest commodity to develop besides power. And just looking around at like the rosters out there, like looking at all the teams that are lower in the standings, like the Angels don't have anybody to trade. Like, there was talk about them trading Reed Detmers at the deadline, and it never happened, obviously, which is not a shock. But he's not he's not a frontline pitcher. Like, I'm not trading Angel Hanau or Chase DeLauder for Reed Detmers. I'm interested in him as like a project, but like, I wouldn't trade those guys for him, and they don't have anybody else. The Athletics don't have anything to trade. The Rangers aren't trading starting pitching. The White Sox have Garrett Crochet, but I don't see it happening for Cleveland.
They do love hurt guys.
Yeah, they do love hurt guys, but he's not been hurt yet. Well, that's not true. He said Tommy John.
Yeah, he said Tommy John.
Blue Jays, like, I don't know, maybe, but I think they're going to try to make another run at it. The Rays are weird, but they don't have like a frontline guy to me to move at this point. The Marlins, like, yeah, they have Sandy Alcantara, but like, he was hurt all year. Are you trading for a distressed asset there too? I'm not sure how that's a great move for Cleveland. The Reds have nothing. They're going to trade. The Pirates don't want to trade their young pitching. The Giants don't want to trade their pitching. The Rockies have no pitching. And the Diamondbacks aren't trading anything. So, like, even if you wanted to do that, I just don't think that player exists. Like, there's no pitching to trade for, right?
There wasn't any pitching at the deadline. There's not any pitching now. Every team has a shot, and a lot of GMs are going to be under the gun. And the Mariners. I mean, the Mariners are in the same situation the Guardians were in a couple of seasons ago with the Klubers and the Carrascos and the Salazars and the Clevengers and all that stuff, right? Everyone's like, oh, trade a starter for a bat. And the Mariners offense is obviously putrid. And everyone's saying trade one of your starters for a bat. But the Guardians never did. I don't think the Mariners will either, because I don't think it makes sense. But the Mariners do that, they're going to want big league hitting. Yeah. Lateral deals are hard to make.
Cleveland can trade for Bryce Miller or Brian Wu or Logan Gilbert. Like, even if they wanted to trade one of those starters for a bat, they're going to want a major league bat returning. Guess what? Mm-hmm. Josh Naylor is not going to do it. So they have nobody.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, that's why, lateral moves are hard to make, because you have to give up something and a team doesn't want to get weaker. And pitching is the most expensive thing to add. And like, a 1-year rental of a first baseman who is very good but not great is not going to net you.
With a questionable future in terms of injuries and shape, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's just there's kudos to him for making it through the season healthy so far, knock on wood. But like, yeah, there's just not a great pathway, unfortunately. So that's why you got to hope that like Austin Peterson is the truth here, that, his breakout is just a sign of more to come. And
or Daniel Espino's shoulder magically just heals rookie of the year. And he becomes great.
Like, I mean, Adrian Peterson, right, in the NFL. I just remember him getting hurt like multiple times in college. He got hurt like his rookie year, I want to say, and then all of a sudden he ran off like 15 years without health. Zdrunas Ilgauskas, right? Like, sometimes it can happen. So let's all wish a little wish, dream a little dream, because if Espino can get it together, that's not just getting an interesting pitching prospect. That's getting a guy who was the pitching prospect in all of baseball. Yeah,
we didn't address this on Friday's show, or the regular episode, whatever we're going to call it. Ryan Webb did not pitch. We might know more on Saturday when you're hearing this, so I might be late on this, but Ryan Webb did not make his start for Columbus on Thursday night, which he was supposed to make in the game 2 or game 3 of the International League Championship, winner take all. He didn't pitch, which is weird. So one of two things happened here. He's either hurt or he's coming to Cleveland to pitch against the Astros this weekend.
Because they need to add him in the offseason anyways.
Yeah, and they want to have maybe an extra arm this weekend because they're not going to be throwing their traditional guys. They're not going to want the Astros to see anybody to get familiar with. So I'm recording this. We're recording this at 11:47 Eastern on Thursday. So when you hear the timestamp here for this, just know that Ryan Webb didn't pitch, and our official prediction is he's either hurt or he's pitching in Cleveland this weekend. So stay tuned for that.
Good chance he's pitching in Cleveland. I don't know. That's what my
he was the scheduled starter all week for this game. So it's very weird that they decided to go with the bullpen game at the last second. So I could see Ryan Webb pitching this weekend in Cleveland, which would be really awesome. So part of that 2021 draft class with Austin Peterson and Tanner Bybee and Gavin Williams. So that's potentially very exciting. All right, we got to get out of here. It's been a great week. Thanks for everybody for listening, and leave us an iTunes review. We could always use more of those, and share with a friend, all that fun stuff. Let everybody know we're going to be here all postseason, guys. We're not going anywhere. We're going to have, again, a special guest on Monday. I'll just throw it out there. We're hoping to have Andre Knott on again on Monday's episode, or Tuesday's episode, I should say. So hopefully we'll get back with that. That'll be fun. And, lots to talk about the postseason. We hope there's a lot of playoff baseball to talk about, and we'll be here every day breaking everything down for you. So stick with us.
Yeah. And for anyone out there, we were doing post-production as we're doing this. So if there's some weird pauses, things like that, little goofs.
We're editing Friday's episode.
We're doing back-to-back and doing post-production. So you get the bonus. It's a little bit dirtier. Not quite as clean, but we appreciate all of you who joined us for the down and dirty second half of the mailbag. Thank you all for being part of our Locked On Guardians team. You are very fantastic people. Thank you for your kindness through the years, and go Guardians go.